long story. I did a hog call once for a friend of mine.
Next.
I would never yell Boomer Sooner. I did a hog call once for a friend of mine that was retiring from a position, and I did it out of solidarity for him, and she won't let me live it down.
Because I left the room because I realized what's going to happen. You stayed in.
Here, I thought that this was going to be difficult later on as a host, trying to get you two to argue. I don't think, man, this is going to be hard getting these two to argue. They're just going to gang up on me, and now I'm not so sure about that statement. There's stuff.
Hello and welcome to Sports Den, the podcast. Regular crew's a little short tonight, but my wife's going to join us for at least a few of our segments. So, Amber, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Amber. I am a elementary art teacher, and do I need to tell my sports teams?
Yes, tell your sports teams.
I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, Texas Longhorn fan, and then I'm sorry, but I'm actually not sorry. Dallas Mavericks. And then Texas Rangers. He says he's a Longhorn fan, but I don't believe that. He's there on their side when Arkansas is as bad as they are right now.
No, I'm not.
You did the hog call, so you can.
Long story. I did a hog call once for a friend of mine.
Next.
I would never yell Boomer Sooner. I did a hog call once for a friend of mine that was retiring from a position, and I did it out of solidarity for him, and she won't let me live it down.
Because I left the room because I realized what's going to happen. You stayed in.
Here, I thought that this was going to be difficult later on as a host, trying to get you two to argue. I don't think, man, this is going to be hard getting these two to argue. They're just going to gang up on me, and now I'm not so sure about that statement. There's thoughts.
I will probably side with you more than you think, actually.
Actually, that's part of the reason we got married was I was like, hey, there's someone to argue about sports with.
He was always wrong.
It's okay.
All right. What's our first topic, Ben?
All right. So today we're going to be talking about what amazing thing that I don't remember of ever happening before. Thursday night football was good. Every year every game has been awful, horrible, unwatchable football. Even close games were like, that's not entertaining. It's not any good. But Thursday night was good. We had the Eagles winning a game against the Packers, following them from the ranks of the unbeaten. And it was a good game. It was a solid game. It was an entertaining game. There's a lot to kind of bring off from that game. So what are your opening thoughts on the Thursday night game that was actually good?
Well, first off, it was two good teams. It was, in my opinion, the second and third best teams in the NFC. So that helps. I think they were the second and third best teams in their conference. So that always helps. Thursday night games are
But yeah, so I did go with it, and I am disappointed. I am frustrated that I didn't see most of the game. But as we get onto it, the last drive, the last stand, as you kind of put it, of 4 straight plays, and they were all passes from the one. Mm-hmm. And then the last, we'll get to specifics of the last play. But again, they're close. They've got time and timeouts, and they're still passing the ball. This may be, I kind of mentioned this a little bit in some of our other previous discussions of, are coaches starting to get too smart for their own good? Conventional wisdom says run the ball, but I think so much more is, and how many fourth and 1 situations have we seen in the NFL this year of 5 wide sets? Oh, it's 4th and 1, 3rd and 1. Oh, let's go 5 wide, and it's been going for years, but I don't think I've ever seen it this much of, no, we actually can't run the ball at all, despite our success in the running game. We're not allowed to run the ball at all. We have to pass.
I think it's partially to, when you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, you're like waiting for him to make the big play, because he tends to make these like just incredible passes and plays that saves the day, and everyone watches it and it goes viral, and you're waiting for that play. But then you forget that sometimes he doesn't have that opportunity. Sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes you do need to give him a break, and the run's going to work just as well. And so I think that's part of it. But I think there was definitely a lack. It looked like bad coaching towards the end. Like either Aaron Rodgers was calling audibles, or the coach was just not calling what you would expect. It was just the same thing.
It looks pretty obvious that Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers aren't quite on the same page right now. And Aaron Rodgers was torching Philly's secondary whenever he got out of the pocket last night. He was torching them. And but I think a little bit like you said, their O-line felt really shaky anytime they tried to run the ball. And they weren't running the ball really well. So I can understand the desire.
1 yard. One yard to go. I remember an old sports writer used to always hear, just Vince Lombardi is rolling on it. No, you have 1 yard to go.
Yeah.
Just run the ball. Or you've got Aaron Rodgers, who's athletic. He's not tall, but he's athletic, and he can still stretch.
Yeah.
Quarterback sneak is a thing. But I think it's more of, things are just gotten so much of, I have to prove, and this is what I was looking at, coaches getting too smart for their own good, is they feel like they have to prove and justify that they're an offensive genius. That I'm an offensive genius, so therefore run all up the middle is that's too pedestrian, that's too obvious, that's too easy. It doesn't take a genius to make those calls. I think it's kind of interesting. For a while there, we went from, you can't run and integrate the RPO. You can't integrate this shotgun, the system. No, you can't go from the back. You have to go under center. That's NFL football. And that wasn't that long ago. That was 7 years ago when that was the conversation. But then all of a sudden you get these unbelievable offenses and these offensive genius, and everyone's got to prove, no, I'm the next offensive genius. And it comes weird, especially for a guy like
Here's the thing about offensive geniuses. Offensive geniuses haven't been really winning. Like, remember when Jim Kelly was supposed to bring the spread offense in, and just everyone was supposed to he was supposed to be the next big thing, and then he pretty much leaves, and the next guy comes in and basically wins the Super Bowl with his roster.
Part of being an offensive genius is knowing when you need to do the invention of a Hail Mary, okay, for the first time. That's stupid, but it somehow works. Yeah. But then also knowing when you're a yard away, so you just run the freaking ball.
Pete Carroll, cough, cough.
There's a difference of like, we can do this. It's worth the chance because throwing could be really bad versus like there's 2 seconds and we've got to just like.
I'll say this in LaFleur's defense. It's not like he had beast mode on the 1 yard line and didn't run it.
But it's to go 4 times,
Yeah,
but then at the same time, I'm in a weird position that one of the reasons I was actually so excited with the Broncos coaching hire was they brought in this old school. I'm like, yes, we're bringing in an old school style coach, and then we're seeing how that's worked so far this year.
Well,
it's gonna get better.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what school or style your coach is if your quarterback's Joe Flacco.
But yeah, then kind of on that thing, the last play there. I've watched it a bunch of times. I said I did get to see that play live last night, but then since then I've watched a number of things, and the more and more I watch it, the more I have personally, I know I have no issue with the no call pass interference. I watched it and I looked at it and I said, you know what? Under the textbook definition of the rule, was that probably pass interference? Probably. He got there early. But that's not, if that call had been made, I would have been frustrated.
I agree with you 100%. They had already had a big PI that had got them to that field position to begin with. And then I would have not enjoyed that call made at that point of the game.
Had they called it, we would be having the opposite discussion of why did they call it. It was one of those calls, I feel like.
Because it was so ticky-tack. I don't even know. He got there early, but I don't even know if that got challenged at a normal time when challenges are allowed. I don't know if that would have even been overturned.
The thing that really actually got me from rewatching the play a few times, I don't know if you've rewatched it since then.
Yeah.
It's a horrible decision by Aaron Rodgers.
It is.
Yes. Great.
Because I watched it like,
into double coverage.
Maybe he didn't have time. I watched it. He had no one around him. And then I missed who the receiver was, but he threw in a double coverage. It was a broken zone, and he threw into the broken zone. He had the other receiver, again, I don't know who it was, who was streaking to the corner.
Yeah.
Was completely it was a broken zone, and he just threw it to where the zone was, where both guys were in a broken zone.
Yeah.
It was I watched it, and I was like, this is not Aaron Rodgers. This is.
Yeah, it was so.
It's oh man, it's always a sad thing when Aaron Rodgers breaking this great streak of no interceptions. Oh, that's sad. But then I watched it, and no, absolutely, he deserves to get an interception. He absolutely royally screwed up. That interception's completely on him. I know it was a bounce, deflected ball, which normally I don't blame quarterbacks for, but. No, that was on him.
But he's the one who threw it into someone who could deflect it.
Yeah. No, when I first watched it, because he had told me, watch it carefully. This is like a controversy thing. And I looked at it and I was like, I feel like I was watching it thinking, why did you throw that? Mm-hmm. Not, there should be a flag on the play. I would have immediately gone to a flag, and I really don't. It technically did change the outcome of the game, but I feel like there were other mistakes made by both teams that led to that score anyway. That wasn't like
it was a big deal that the injury replacement. Like it's a big deal that the injury replacement one is the one that broke the zone and was in the wrong spot. But because he was in the wrong spot, he catches the interception. Like
yes, that was just luck on his part.
And speaking of catching,
yes. Speaking of catching. There was someone who needed to have a good game.
And he really didn't. He really didn't.
If you haven't watched before, we don't think we can show it to you because of, rules and stuff. But you should Google, I would say Fire Escape and Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It is. He has become
Google it if you haven't seen it.
If you type in just unlike Aguilar, it'll probably just show up, and it's very humorous. I actually knew what you were talking about when you showed it to me again.
Yeah,
but it's great. Very great, like, nonchalant diss, and then it goes off.
Also, low-key, they just, I think it was this morning. This morning, they actually released footage of said citizen hero that basically...
You can talk about it.
Yeah,
so... Let's explain what happened.
This citizen hero, there's a fire going on, and he hears the fire issues, and so he just runs, and while he is there... The firefighters are up in this, it looks like a 2 or 3 stories up, and they are tossing babies out of the window of this house, and he is catching them. Like, super cool hero moment, and they released the footage of it, and he is straight up just like grabbing a 4-year-old and then handing it off to a fire. Like, it is, I mean, he's legit doing it.
Very impressive.
And so the news interviews him, and he straight up just goes, they was throwing babies to us, and we was catching them, unlike Aguilar. I mean, and it's the most Philadelphia Eagles fan thing ever. And
almost as much as the hats that they wore to Green Bay.
Yeah, them wearing the cream cheese hats. Yeah, those were awesome.
That made my day. I'm not gonna lie. That was funny. That was good on their part.
You know, I normally
I guess
don't
the better
like
question: who throws shade at their own team? Now, I'm under no illusion about my Broncos, but I'm not throwing shade at my Broncos. Who throws shade at their own team better or more often than Philadelphia Eagles fans? Not even Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia fans in general.
Like
throw shade at their own team better.
My favorite part was in the playoffs this year, because they're losing to Brooklyn. Their home team fans are booing, and it's like, dude, a year and a half ago, y'all had like single-digit wins in April, so y'all can chill out. But no, it's awesome. Cowboys fans will throw shade at our owner, not our team.
He earned it though.
But he earns that shade 100%. But no,
I don't know. I threw some shade at some players before.
Oh yeah.
Like I was glad when they we won't get into that.
Yeah, we will get into that. It's awesome. So I just want to clarify, Des Bryant, if you're listening, Amber is responsible for your torn Achilles. Because
I might have said I hope he gets injured, and he might have injured himself right after that.
But basically,
right as I said it was really bad timing. I did not mean it.
In the playoff game, she's like, I hope he goes. I hope we cut him, and he goes to the Browns right after he popped up a ball that got intercepted. And he didn't go to the Browns, so
I actually
good
was
for him.
Wanting that. You're the one that suggested it. I said he'd deserve it because you said you need to take it back, and I said don't take it back. He 100% deserves that.
Yeah.
And then you told me I was a terrible person.
Anyway.
That's how
speaking of, and I seriously, we've got to stop talking about Cowboys. But speaking of the Cowboys, we have a few undefeated teams remaining. After last night, one fewer. We got the Cowboys, the Patriots, the Rams, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Lions, and the 49ers. At least upon coming into the season, a few of these teams, sure, absolutely, but a few of these other teams are absolute shockers of how are these guys undefeated. And a few of them are legit. Are any of them you would actually classify as bad teams? Bad teams that got lucky.
I do not understand how the Lions haven't lost. It's like they've tried to lose every game and are like accidentally winning or tying.
Now remember though, they're an asterisk. They're an asterisk.
Yeah, because they've got a tie. They've got a tie, so that's an asterisk.
They're undefeated. Let's put it that way. That's the best way to do it.
So I actually say we shelve the Lions because they, a tie. I think you said in our group chat, ties are communist. And and are un-American. So I agree. I hate ties.
Eagles cry every time there's a tie.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like ties. But so let's shelve the Lions because that's the obvious answer. My answer is, and Brian is gonna hate that he's not on this podcast, but my answers are the Bills or the Niners.
No.
For two different reasons.
Not just that they shouldn't be undefeated. That's why I worded it there. Are any of them you would consider a bad team who's just so happened to not lose yet a few weeks in?
Just the Lions on that. I think every other team is middling. I think the Niners have the biggest chance to be a bad team, and that's because I just don't trust Jimmy G. I don't. I know Sean is gonna. Sean loves Jimmy G, and will sing his praises, but he's the one that I kind of have the most question marks about him. He parlayed 3 good starts into a massive paycheck, and Yeah. And so if we're talking about former Tom Brady backups that I trust the most, it is Jacoby Brissett, not Jimmy G. But I would say the Niners have the biggest chance. I think the Bills are in there because Bills' opponents are 1-8. So it's not like they've played anyone. The Cowboys have not played.
You want to make that argument? Yeah. As a Cowboys fan, you want to make the argument?
Now, here's the deal. The Cowboys have not played as strong of teams either, but they have played stronger defenses.
You've played the Dolphins.
Yes, the Dolphins.
That just counts that loses everything. I think the Patriots are hurted. The Patriots are hurt by having played the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins are I understand tanking to a degree in a sport like basketball, where there's 5 guys on the floor and one person can make that big of a difference. Tua can't make enough of a difference for the Dolphins to justify this, can he?
We'll see.
I mean, goodness, it's so bad. It's so bad.
But it makes it tough. But yeah, that's the ones that kind of get me. Part of it as a Broncos fan, the fact that the Chiefs are undefeated, that does. And I knew the offense was going to be good. I honestly just thought that their defense was going to be bad enough at some points that their offense was not going to be able to overcome their defense. That's kind of what I expected.
Their defense tried against the Ravens. Their defense tried to be bad against the Ravens, but Mahomes just went into. I honestly think this year and 3 games we've seen out of Patrick Mahomes might be the best stretch of quarterback play from a single person the NFL has seen ever. But he couldn't get in the playoffs because your defense has got to show up in the playoffs, and it didn't against the Patriots.
Well, and he's an Andy. Speaking of genius coaches, he plays under Andy Reid, who will always fail in the playoffs. Which, as a Broncos fan, is a nice little saving grace.
As a Cowboys fan, I loved it when he coached the Eagles. So
an interesting thing I will say, we threw some shade at him and kind of talked about the list of the Lions. The Lions are going to be a very interesting perspective because I also don't think Green Bay is that. I don't think Green Bay is as good as they are. I know they just fell out of this conversation and had a pass went a different way yesterday. They would still be in this conversation. I don't think Green Bay is that good. I don't think actually anyone in that division this year is that good. If the Lions, I cannot believe I'm about to say what I'm about to say. I didn't come in here ready to say this, but the more I think about it, the Lions I honestly could see as a playoff team and winning that division. They can do enough, and it's because of all the shade we kind of throw at Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
I think it can actually work this year he can do enough. I think all around as a team, they are capable of doing enough until we get to the point where I think the Lions, we're not going to stay undefeated. Absolutely not. They're going to lose, obviously. But I think come to the end of the season, we're going to be, oh my goodness, how does the Lions have 10 wins?
I think they could get 8.
Happen, and we're going to be shocked. Mm-hmm. I'm not guaranteeing 10 wins. I'm not making a prediction. We come back now towards the end. Oh, you said they were going to get, but I could very well see it. The Lions, we're going to be sitting there, and we're just going to be asking ourselves, how did the Lions win this division?
My issue.
End up your kind of Cinderella team.
Yeah,
just to because they seem to be getting a lot of luck. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I feel like Matt Stafford does just enough.
Use the luck. But yeah, I agree with you. Green Bay does not. I mean, they don't look as good as they usually do. They have.
I've never felt this bad about an Aaron Rodgers offense.
It's just not the same team.
Their defense is awesome, but I've never felt this bad about an Aaron Rodgers offense.
Some of the teams that we think look good right now are not going to look good in a week or two.
Speaking of bad looks.
Thanks. I was really wanting to go Cowboys there and then go for speaking of over-righteous fan bases.
But speaking of bad looks, man, we've got the Red Sox. Do they have a right to be upset about this stupid dropped?
So a big thing I've been seeing there. So those of you that haven't seen the play, because actually I had to look it up this morning. I heard about it, but I hadn't seen it. So this morning, those of you that haven't seen it,
because why would you watch two teams that aren't in the playoffs?
So last night, a Rangers pitcher who a couple years ago, I didn't realize this, was ready to quit.
Mm-hmm.
He was about ready to retire. He was at 199 strikeouts for the season. And he had a strike on a batter. There was a pop-up into foul ground that was easily playable. His teammates decided, you know what, we're not going to catch. We've got a 2-run lead. We're not going to catch this foul ball. And we're going to let it fall. That way it's a strike. And in the next pitch, he struck him out. It's great. That way he got to a great milestone of 200 strikeouts, which now brings the Boston sports media out. The main person I actually reference, and I'm going to do a Twitter call out on this podcast because one guy that I feel like actually started this. Pete Abraham of the Boston Globe.
Yeah.
That's been I could be wrong. Maybe there were other people that brought it out. But more and more I searched on it. It was the tweet from Pete Abraham of the Boston Globe that really kind of set everything off. So much so Mike Minor actually responded to this guy. I don't know if he responded to others. But he tweeted out that Mike Minor's 200 strikeout should have a big asterisk that was Bush chasing a milestone, and that is way unprofessional. Without even knowing anything about it, I literally just searched the guy, and I found his Twitter page. I immediately said, you know what? He is a sports writer for a local Boston newspaper.
Yeah.
I looked down. Again, I didn't know at the time. I looked down and I saw he covers the Red Sox for the Boston Globe since 2010. And I'm like, yep, absolutely. He is a beat writer for Boston and a Boston newspaper. Yeah, thoughts on the take?
Okay, here's my thing. Like, I played softball, and legitimately there are times when you let it drop because your coach or someone told you to do it, and as a player, you just do it. And from what I could tell, I really do think that the catcher actually told him let it drop.
It looks
like he was going for it, and he was told, let it drop. And there are also times where you care about winning. You always care about winning. But sometimes you also want your teammates to have that moment
Both
of glory.
teams were eliminated.
And so, let me finish talking. And so, honestly, had I been the guy that got the last strikeout, I would have been, it's not the end of the world. Like, for me, I didn't hit the ball. Like, you hit the ball and fouled and got mad that you didn't catch it, which means you got another chance to try to redeem yourself, and you still couldn't hit the ball. Your article should be on why can't our guys make contact with the freaking ball? Like, I don't feel like it shouldn't be a big deal. Like, he decided not to get it. I don't think it's.
First off, they were down by 2 runs. They were down by 2 runs and had 8 straight batters that swung at every pitch because they didn't want to strike out.
Yeah, there was that too.
So don't talk about playing the game the right way.
There are unwritten baseball rules that absolutely need to be followed. I remember I was actually just going through the tweets that I've sent this past year to friends, and I had a friend of mine who's a huge Yankees fan. And what I can't remember who they were playing, but there was a Yankees minor leaguer who bunted to break up a no-hitter. There are absolute Yankees minor league. I can't remember if it was AA or even single A. But
that's happened a couple of times recently in the majors too.
And it's one of those things that, you know what, I as a baseball fan, I absolutely cannot stand. No, you do not bunt to break up a no-hitter. Why? Because that's
I have a caveat.
The game.
I have a caveat. If we are within 2 runs, you should be allowed to bunt to break up a no-hitter if you're within 2 runs.
It's if you're a batter
You should be there to win every game.
If you're a batter that has that in your arsenal,
yeah.
If you have in the past bunted successfully for a base hit,
yes.
If that's a thing you've got in your arsenal, you know what? D. Gordon back before he did everything there. D. Gordon absolutely bunt because that's a legitimate play. When it's you know what? They know I'm not supposed to bunt to break up a no-hitter. Therefore, and they've got respect for me. Therefore, they're playing on their heels. Therefore, I can bunt to break up a base. The only other caveat I would give to that, and it goes to another problem I have with baseball rules, if they're in a shift, because that's the other thing is I want to see more people bunt into the shift. So if they're in a shift on you, bunt it up third base and get a double out of it.
We've got
it's an awful take. It's an awful thing from bitter old. Like I said, I love that baseball has traditions. It's one of my favorite things about baseball. Is that there are these great traditions. Are the unwritten rules, do they get too much involved? Yes, absolutely. Do pitchers make way too big of a deal out of unwritten rules? And, you stared at it. Well, yeah, I stared at my home run that I hit off of you because you screamed emotionally after you struck me out. Like, it goes, but is there too much of that? Yes. But the fact that these things exist, that there are rules, the things, I remember coaching little kids in coach pitch baseball and teaching kids, there's these little things about baseball you just know. I remember getting at a kid, he stepped on the line on the way out and go, don't ever step on a line. You don't ever step on that line on your way out. Why not? Because that's his baseball and we don't step on the line. You don't cross you don't cross in front of the mound on your way out. There's certain things you just don't do because it's baseball. Why? Because baseball. And I love that. But no, having a guy getting mad. I remember reading about books in the history of pitchers that walked players in order for players to not get an extra at bat to improve their batting average. Stuff like that. No, that's but as a teammate saying, you know what, I'm going to let this one go in a game that doesn't matter where we're already winning, I have no issue with it.
Yeah.
And then going off on baseball then, right? We're going on here.
Yeah, speaking of really good teammates.
The Brewers, I remember actually on this podcast, stating on this podcast, the Brewers are done. It's over. They need to shut it down. They don't have anything. They need to be worried about even next season to see if he can get in next season. Since I've said that their season and possibly next season was done, they've gone on to beat out the Cubs and secure a spot in the postseason. So I was wrong. Milwaukee.
Which is the best because Cubs fans are right up there with Philadelphia Eagles fans.
Way too many Cubs fans to say that.
I know.
And he's not wrong.
And Jonathan may be dead before the next podcast, but the thing is, the Cubs have a little bit of they deserve this because the Cubs kind of sat on it the moment Yelich went down. The Cubs kind of sat on their laurels. And there's this thing in sports created by one of my favorite sports writers, Bill Simmons, and it's called the Ewing theory.
I'll give him the Ewing theory, but that's not a good guy to look up to. Come on now.
No, I like him because he's crazy. I like crazy. So
fair enough.
I like crazy. But here's something I actually think he does have right sometimes. Sometimes you have a player that is so transcendent that people have to adapt to them. And when they go down, then all of a sudden everyone can play to their own strengths. And it was basically a Patrick Ewing thing. And the Knicks kind of proved him right because Patrick Ewing went down with, it was an ACL, I believe, in 1999. And they made the Eastern Conference final, or they made the NBA finals without him. And it was a big deal. And then since then, the Yankees made a big run without Jeter one year. The big one is Drew Bledsoe went down, and then all of a sudden the Patriots become a dynasty because Drew Bledsoe goes down, and Tom Brady was waiting in the wings. And then I'm trying to think of a better Ewing theory candidate because it's really rare that these really happen, because usually when a player is transcendent and everyone is adapting to them, it's because it legitimately is the best way to play.
Well, a critique I'd have with the Ewing theory, and I think it actually kind of plays in here, is I think there's a heart thing where you recognize that this was your guy. This guy was your best shot to get something. And it's not so much, now you can play to your own things. It's more of, it's that little, as a coach's call, you got to give 110%. Well, I can't give 110%. No.
It's the motivation factor.
There's an extra 10% that does exist out there, and there are different ways that people access it. And having a player go down is a way of accessing that 10%. Having your star player go down, it's one of the greatest cliches in sports, win one for the keeper. But it is. It's going, no, we got to go win this for this guy that is, he can't win it anymore. That's there. Another thing, and we spoke about this before, I hate having to do this because I'm so happy. I harbor no ill. The Brewers knocked out my Rockies last year, but despite that, I harbor no ill will towards the Brewers. I like the Brewers. Now, they do have one of my least favorite players on their team, a player I enjoy booing every single time I get a chance to boo him because he's a cheater and he enjoys ruining people's lives. But
by the way, he went down with an injury tonight in their game.
Did he?
Yep. Looks like he it says a quad injury.
Oh. I'm sorry for the effect that's going to have on the Brewers.
Calf injury. Sorry.
But despite all that, I still like the Brewers. But a caveat.
By the way, that was Ryan Braun for anyone who didn't catch that reference. So.
I was trying not to name him, but but it's something that we do have to make note. And this is just the way things bounce sometimes. But the Brewers got lucky in the fact they faced one of the easiest schedules
they really did. It's a super easy schedule.
But the other caveat on that was if the Cubs had actually really tried, based on the strength of schedule, the Brewers should have been all set and should have been all good. But the fact the Brewers didn't need to use the series against my Rockies, who I think are actually winning at the moment. Maybe actually, I just got a notification. I don't know if they are not. But yes, they don't even have to actually do anything in this series against my Rockies to actually knock anything out. I guess the Central is still technically up for play, I think. The division is.
The Brewers can technically catch the Cardinals here in a bit.
Technically. Good for them that they'll be able to get that. But we do have to make note about the schedule, but it doesn't cheapen the story. And that's the thing I love. That's one of the reasons I think we all love sports. Is for stories like this, for situations of, nope, it's done. They're done. They're out of it. They've lost. It's over. Shut it down. Oh, wait, what's going on? They have life. They're not dead yet, and they go back and win. And that's one of those great things of sports, I feel like.
Yes. Speaking of, as one season winds down, we got a couple of sports that have seasons that are beginning. So let's knock off a sport that the two of us are not going to have a lot to say about, but obviously Ben is because he's wearing a hat from this sport. So let's start with the NHL. Season starts next week, right?
Yes, regular season starts next week. We've had training camp this week. It's, this is going to be my thing, especially because I don't have Kyle here to scream me down. Honestly, this is my call out to everyone. Give hockey a chance this season. Find a team, pick a team. You can do it weird style and just pick some random team. They don't have to have anything to do with where you're at. Find a team, pick a team, watch them. Hockey is a fantastic game to watch. It really is. It's faster than any other sport. They're more athletic than any other sport, including basketball. I will argue that. I will fight that point if you want to make it. But hockey really is magnificent. Yes, there's not as many goals, but if you start understanding more and more strategy, you can fall in love with hockey.
It's super fun to watch live. My problem is I didn't grow up watching it because I grew up in a desert in Africa and then in the South of the United States. And so I didn't get a lot of hockey. There was no minor league hockey team around me other than my friend's semi-pro team he was on. There was no real thing to get me involved in it. I'm a huge Houston area sports fan, and Houston doesn't have a team. And Houston's the fourth largest city in the United States, so it should have a team if you want your league to do that. Now Dallas has a team, and they're okay. And they're okay. And then St. Louis, my mom's from St. Louis, so I always will have a tangential view of them as kind of a home team. And so I definitely enjoyed watching them in the playoffs this last year. I don't watch hockey till the playoffs, but it's fun to watch. It's cool displays of athleticism.
Hockey's very fun. I actually, the first time I went and watched the Stars game, I was like confused on why it wasn't more popular, because it's really entertaining. There's a lot going on. You're never sitting there bored and like, okay, we haven't done anything in 30 minutes. There's always something that has happened. It's very entertaining, and it's fast-paced.
Exactly. It is so fast. I think I will say the biggest thing that hockey had, the worst thing that happened with hockey, and I think this is what killed it, because I can actually be honest, this is kind of what killed it for me for a bit. I don't think any other sport has had a strike hit them harder than the NHL.
I agree
NHL
100%.
was huge.
That was exactly what I was thinking.
And then followed up with a very, very poor TV contract negotiation.
Yeah.
And that was one that I don't think they should have seen it coming, but it was one of those ones that, you know what, it's hard to blame that. Like, no, you should have seen this coming, but they made a really, really, really poor thing. One of Kyle in the chat, our chat earlier, made a point of, you know, once it was on, or was it Kyle or who made the point about once it's on a regular station, once the playoffs are actually on a real channel.
Yeah, that was Kyle.
And you know what? I can't fault that, because it is a joke that the playoffs are not on watchable TV. Even the Stanley Cup Finals sometimes are not even on.
Well, that's the thing. Why I hadn't watched it was I didn't have money to go pay extra money for channels. Yeah. I watched what was on regular TV. So I watched a lot of football. I watched a lot of basketball because that's what's on.
And I'll watch the highlights of a hockey game anytime they come up.
But it is tough. So I will make my quick pick. I am an Avs fan growing up. That's actually this is not this is actually not technically an Avalanche hat.
Oh.
This is the Colorado Rockies, which is the team that eventually became I believe the New Jersey Devils.
Okay.
The Colorado Rockies were in existence for like 3 years. They were not good. They were awful. But the logo was cool, and the owner of the Nuggets has gone through and actually bought the copyrights to all of the Colorado Rockies stuff.
Oh, cool.
So that way they still sell this stuff with the Avalanche stuff, and I love the logo. So yes, I'm an Avalanche fan, so I was kind of a homer. I really do like the Avs this year. The Avs have a really, really, really great young core. They have they have my pick for Rookie of the Year. Maybe it's a homer pick, but Makar is going to be amazing. This is a kid that, to give a little bit of a story on him, he played at Boston College. I think he actually got 4 years out of Boston College. And then the NHL
Boston
season was
College
done.
is traditionally a good hockey school, too.
He had graduated, and so they signed him and brought him up. He'd been their draft pick for a while, but deferred to go to college.
Yeah.
And when that happens in the NHL, unlike baseball, you still are able to play for that team that drafted you. They still own your rights. So the Avs brought him up for the playoff series, and with no NHL experience, no NHL camp, his first game he scores a goal, and he's one of the best defensemen on the ice at any given point, which is just kind of this is crazy. So he's my pick for Rookie of the Year. But
as I said, I don't watch till playoffs, and I was like, oh hey, that guy's good. So I didn't realize until the announcer said he was a rookie that he was, because he looked really seasoned.
He's gonna be good. So I'm worried about that. My only worry with the Avs is goaltending. Our goalie was very, very good towards the end of last year, but that goalie was also booed in our own building a number of times earlier in the year. So he can play really good, but he can also have some not great games. That's my one concern with the Avs. But I like the Avs' chance to win the Stanley Cup this year. Another dark horse team that's kind of there, the Coyotes, and it's also an Arizona person.
Yeah.
I made some really good moves. I like what they've done. I think the West is going to be good, though.
Yeah. I think it would be really cool to see Las Vegas actually win one. Like, hockey's the only one of the major sports that an expansion franchise in their first year can make their finals, because their expansion rules are cool.
Expansion rules are cool, and what really got it, what Vegas did that no other expansion team had done, is they actually took advantage and made an intention to win right away.
Yeah.
Most guys don't pick expensive contracts. There are guys that a lot of teams put on as draftable that have giant expensive contracts because they say
they want to lose that contract.
No one's either going to want to lose the contract or no one's going to take it on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Vegas said, no, we'll go ahead and take these on, which Vegas did a very interesting perspective. But those contracts and those things are starting to end, so it's going to be really interesting to see what Vegas does going into that. Flurry, the goalie that they rolled.
The Vegas Knights were so successful that they got the Raiders to move there.
Same Raiders were moving already. But yeah, so those are my picks. That's my pick to win it. Out of the East, Tampa Bay is going to be an interesting one. Tampa Bay was a fantastic. Tampa Bay is going to do one of two things this year. They're gonna make the cup and possibly win it, or they're actually going to miss the playoffs. The collapse they had last year,
that was big.
It's unheard of. To win the President's Cup and then get swept.
Yeah.
That's not supposed to happen. That doesn't happen. So it will be crazy to see what happens from that.
Well, talking about training camps.
Yeah.
Training camps. Let's jump into. It's no surprise. This is my favorite of the pro leagues. Is the NBA. It's my favorite pro league.
Shocker.
I love it. I play basketball is the sport I enjoyed playing growing up the most. I coached a little bit. I've been a referee.
Injures himself.
Yeah. No, I hurt myself playing the other sports first.
You still do it.
I still hurt myself playing basketball because I love playing basketball. And even though I'm old and have terrible knees, I still love playing.
Wear a brace.
So Ben, I honestly think it's great that even though we could only have two of our regulars on the podcast, it's you and I, because our two favorite teams have all the memes coming out of training camp already. Like, you have a guy that looks like he's 10 foot tall and weighs 7 pounds on your training camp roster. And I am so excited to see how he does. Now, he's definitely playing in the G League most of this year.
If he's not playing in the G League most of this year, it's because something really, really bad happened to Jokic.
Yeah. But he looks awesome. And then you've got your redshirt rookie. That dude, I loved him because I went to high school in Missouri. So, and I have friends that have gone to the University of Missouri at Columbia. So I always kind of keep up with their stuff. And this was a massive deal when he signed to go to Missouri. So everyone, so I've known about him tangentially since his senior year of high school, and the dude could ball. But we know back and neck injuries are really difficult to come back from in any sport, much less one that's so built on lateral quickness and turning your hips and your, but the dude looks so fluid in your camp. What are your thoughts on Michael Jr.?
So I love that we were able to get him, but so I'm excited about him. But the only thing that makes me hedge, and we've kind of mentioned this a little bit before, I think what makes the Nuggets so good is actually that they do lack a superstar. Is that the shot and the dagger could come from anywhere at any given point, anywhere on the floor, anyone. And yes, they do a really good job of spacing out scoring, but at the same time, it's not crazy for any one of the starters to go off for 30 or 30 plus. It's not like, oh my goodness, how did that guy really go off for 30 plus? No, it makes sense that guy is capable at any moment of going off for 30. The fact that, Jokic doesn't have to score 30 for them to win a game is fantastic. The fact that Jokic can actually play, you know what? They're guarding up on me really good. Okay, tonight I'm going to lead an assist. So I'm going to get the ball out and find other places. I love that. That's one of my favorite things about watching the Nuggets.
Jokic is the best passing big man the league has seen since that 1 year David Robinson averaged like 7 assists for some reason.
Yeah.
And
But so what gets me, the only thing that has me worried is you've got a guy who's capable of being a superstar. And that could throw off an amazing dynamic that this team has. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's my one little concern about the Nuggets going into this.
You're worried he becomes Melo right before they traded him to the Knicks.
No, Melo was...
Because Melo was a transcendent player.
Yeah.
But the moment they traded him, they just played like a team and were better.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a different opinion to Melo than a lot of Nuggets fans. Despite going to his first game back at Pepsi Center and booing him, I still love Carmelo. I love actually as a person the way he matured and grew, the problems he had, the people he chose to hang out with early in his career, the ways he was able to fix that. I think he's gone from he's overrated and underrated at the same time, which is weird.
All I know is when my team cut Melo, we went on the world's most massive win streak. and I am very happy, and I feel like we got rid of another Melo-like player, and that's Chris Paul. I feel like there's certain players who
that's a topic for another podcast right there.
Yeah, no, Chris Paul. Okay, so here's my deal. Russell Westbrook is one of my least favorite players in sports. Mm-hmm. I feel like he doesn't fit dynamics. But I had got so fed up with the Chris Paul show that when we traded for Russell Westbrook, I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this.
You weren't at first. He was not at first. He was very.
But I was able to very quickly convince myself that I was okay with this because, number one, Chris Paul never accepted that James Harden was better than he was. Never did. He would act like it, and then we saw at the very end of the Western Conference semifinals this year, he froze Harden out on the last 8 minutes of that game. Mm-hmm. He was not passing the ball to Harden. He was not doing anything. And look, the best ability, I always say this, the best ability is availability, and Chris Paul's going to miss a third of your games.
Yeah.
And Russell Westbrook could get shot in the face and be like, I'm going to be there for tip off.
Chris Paul is interesting.
He's there.
Mm-hmm.
He's at game.
Chris Paul is interesting because of what he could have been. He could have been a better Chauncey Billups, and he had little bits and pieces where he would show. Chauncey, especially again, when I talked about people that improved Melo and brought Melo as a person, Chauncey was one of those guys.
And Chauncey did that wherever he went after Boston and Minnesota.
Chauncey was never flashy. I remember everyone always talking about, look at that great crossover. Chauncey doesn't have that crossover, and Chauncey doesn't need that crossover because instead of playing ISO, he's finding the open man.
Yeah.
Which Chris Paul had that. I mean, the guy made an entire career of commercials based on assists. Mm-hmm. That was his point. But he's capable of being a floor general like Chauncey was. And that was Chauncey's biggest thing, was being a true floor general, knowing everything going on the court. And I think Chris Paul became, but what Chris Paul became, I should use this later because it would give us a transition to someone else, but he tried to become a floor king, not a floor general. Yeah. He would let other people take shots. That's why he still was about the passing, but it was still all about him on the show. I'm controlling these things. And that was never going to work with a guy like Harden.
And I think so I went back and watched a whole bunch of Thunder stuff from when the Thunder had Westbrook, Durant, and Harden. It's pretty obvious who the point guard on those teams was. It was not Russ. Mm-hmm. Russ was playing 2 the whole time because the ball was always in James' hand. Because Russ was a supreme cutter, and he still is a supreme cutter. But Russ has never played with a ball handler like Harden, except for the years he played with Harden. He's always been the best ball handler. And so it's always been best to be in his hands. So, and I'm sorry, Durant. I'm sorry, but it was way more beneficial for you to flare out off a screen, get wide open, and let Russ hit you. Now, Russ had a bad habit of not hitting you sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think Russ is growing up a little bit. She loves Durant. She loves Durant. I am sorry. But Durant is great, and we should be able to talk about him more, but that stupid Achilles, and I promise it's because he got Russ back too early. I will probably – My ire and anger at the Golden State Warriors has nothing to do with them getting Durant, because look, that's the NBA's fault. I think I said that last week. They're the ones that put all the money in 1 year and opened it up. If they had not done that, he wouldn't have gone. But I don't think I'll ever forgive them for rushing Durant back, because that's what blew his Achilles out.
That's fair. I think it's going to be. I will give you this is for Houston. Houston is going to be one of the most entertaining teams to watch this year.
Yes.
In regular game, yes, but in post game press conference, because this is either going to be so amazing and beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful, amazing play of 2 players. It's going to be NFL Jam with 5 people, but
NBA Jam,
NBA Jam.
Yeah.
It's going to be that. Or it's going to explode so spectacularly. Those are the 2 options. That this team will not be a 3 or a 3 to 6 seed.
No, they can't.
But this seed can absolutely be a 1 or 2, or 7th or 8th, or out of the playoffs because of the way this.
I don't know that out of the playoffs is possible, because the only way out of the playoffs is going to happen is if both of them go down. Because if one of them goes down, we've already seen the other person is not physically capable of missing the playoffs if they're the only option. So,
unless they're destroying each other. That's what I'm looking at. The explode. That's what I'm saying. This explosion could be. And let's also keep in mind it is still the West. And
it's the West.
Yes, are there bad teams in the West? Yes. But the best teams in the league are still in the West.
And I'm not totally convinced that the 2 teams we just talked about aren't the best 2 teams in the West.
It's possible.
I'm pretty sure Houston because they brought in they're bringing in Russell Westbrook. Oh, how are they going to replace Chris Paul and bring in Russell? No, they're not replacing Chris Paul. Chris Paul didn't play last year.
Yeah.
They had all that success they had because Chris Paul went down. They're just adding Russell Westbrook and whatever spare parts on the end of the bench. Sorry, Tyson Chandler, I love you, but you're spare parts at this point.
But as much
spare parts for a while.
As much as I dislike Westbrook, but I'm also biased. Because I watched during the years that we should have, I was following OKC. They should have won, and they kept losing. It was so frustrating. But I actually think they're going to work really well together, and they're going to be a very good team, Harden and Westbrook. Because I never felt like Harden and Westbrook didn't work decently together. I felt it was more of a Westbrook Durant did not. The dynamic was it did not work. I never thought it really worked.
I honestly think Durant has never realized how good he is. Because he always goes places and defers. And it's like, dude, you're the best option.
Yeah. But so speaking of people that want to make everything about themselves, another great point that came out of camp. I actually just saw this. You reminded me. You reminded me of this. So LeBron James, who, yes, is he the biggest star in basketball? Absolutely. But his Lakers are not the biggest story in Los Angeles. They're not. Despite them being the Lakers, they're not. They're not the best team in the West. They're not the best everything going through. But the Clippers might be. And
the Clippers are so good. The NBA has enacted like 875 rules this offseason to make sure it never happens again.
And as opposed to saying, you know what, the Clippers are fantastic. I'm not looking forward to playing and putting. I'm also a pro wrestling fan. Those of you guys, some of you may kind of know that. So I will actually use a pro wrestling term here of putting a guy over.
Mm-hmm.
He had an opportunity, and what he should do in this conversation is put the Clippers over. If only because if they actually beat the Clippers, then you beat the Clippers, the guys that you said were amazing and unbelievable. And then if you lose to the Clippers, well, you've told us how amazing they are, so no one blames you for. That's why putting your opponent over is always a good thing. But he didn't do that. He refuses to put anyone over. So everything good happens. Well, the exact quote was what? I'm amazed with everything that's coming to Staples Center. He had to put everything together and put him in the same conversation.
I think the exact quote was the biggest winner of the offseason was Staples Center. Because everything's coming to Staples Center. Which, okay, again, I think we've mentioned the top 4 teams in the West. It's Rockets, Nuggets, Clippers, Lakers. I think that's the top 4 teams in the West.
Lakers aren't there yet.
No, dude.
Golden State doesn't fall that far.
Golden State will be better than one of those 4 teams come playoff. But Klay Thompson being out will hurt them drastically because any team that has to start Alfonso McKinney for 60 games is going to be in trouble.
There's that, and then also the other one it's going to be interesting to see is I'm really, really liking and interested to see what Utah is going to do this year.
Utah is a dark horse, really, really a dark horse. I think Utah improved massively schematically for better fits.
I see what you did there. You got me off of LeBron, so you didn't have to defend LeBron.
No, I don't.
See what you did there.
Okay, so I'm going to defend LeBron. I am. LeBron gets in massive trouble for tampering all year with the Anthony Davis stuff. Rich Paul, I think I said it last week on the pod. Rich Paul and Maverick Carter have more influence than Adam Silver does right now.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment something didn't go LeBron's way, NBA Board of Governors makes it illegal.
Yep.
Because LeBron is that powerful.
Yep.
And that big of a deal. LeBron is the biggest deal in sports, period, since Michael Jordan. And it's not even close, which is crazy because I would definitely argue that Tom Brady has a better resume than LeBron or Michael. But
it's not even an argument. It's not even an argument, LeBron.
Yeah. But LeBron has done something that I 5 years ago had said this is the reason LeBron will never catch Michael. I think we'll look back at LeBron's career and he's going to have more points all time, more assists all time, more rebounds all time, more wins all time. And people will look back at LeBron's career and Michael's career and be like, look, LeBron didn't quit in the middle and go play baseball. LeBron didn't quit at a height and then come back and play for a crappy Wizard team.
And still played well.
Yeah, he still played well, but the team was crappy and couldn't do anything. And so and people won't be able to, and then people will do these little things like, oh, LeBron actually won more than one playoff game without a top 50 player all time on his team. And they'll do stuff like that. But I always thought the big difference was the off the court stuff. I was like, LeBron will never have a Space Jam. And look, LeBron's Space Jam is going to be riding Michael's Space Jam's coattails. Don't get me wrong. But
the sequels are never better than the original.
And unless you're talking about Star Wars Episode 5. So,
I disagree.
And so, no, but the big difference, I think, is the last 4-ish years, LeBron has become so influential in the way the NBA is played that he is nipping at Jordan's heels in a way I never thought he would on that end. And there's going to be people, probably not people our age, because we actually lived through the Michael Jordan era, or at least the tail end of it, and actually got to see how good Michael was. But people younger than us are going to look at LeBron and be like, there was no way Michael Jordan could have been that good. Today's middle schoolers are going to always argue that LeBron was better than Jordan. I promise you.
They will, and they will still always be wrong.
Yeah.
But that's because they haven't seen what Michael Jordan did.
Yeah.
They can just hush.
In another perspective, another thing that I can see happening about that, and this he could be kind of getting in there. There are certain players and coaches that I feel like they're, and I'm not saying this it's a negative or undeserved, but Michael is going to cross into true legend status, where once you cross into that true legend status, you will be unassailable. Because it's no longer about what you actually did or anything.
That's what I mean.
When you hear stories of the flu game, you hear these stories.
The flu game is actually probably a hangover, but we'll just leave it alone.
Again, no. If even that kind of proves my point. It may not even be that, but it's a story that's become legend. It's a story that pushes him beyond. It's one of those stories that you get that over time become exaggerated.
Yeah, and
no one questions them.
What's hurt LeBron is all the exaggerations are in his bad points.
Yeah.
Look, there's the exaggeration of, oh man, he couldn't even beat the Dallas Mavericks team that only had Dirk Nowitzki. And then you look back, the Mavs were favored in the record.
Yeah.
Like the Mavs were favored in the record. LeBron's lost one finals where he's been favored in the record.
If LeBron is not his greatest ally, and I just really thought of this. His greatest ally will be his greatest detriment. The media perspective, because they built him up so much, and he can't match a legend they've been told, and we all that they tell, and we all see that. We all see that. We all notice things when things go well. Oh, that's all LeBron.
Yeah.
When things go poor, oh no, everything fell apart around him. Everyone around him failed. Mm-hmm. Every time things go, things go wrong, and things
like that last finals, it was all about JR missing a free throw, and it had nothing to do with dude, LeBron punched a wall and broke his hand in the middle of that. Dude, you messed up.
There's so much of that of. No, what was it? He did so well. You know what? It was the finals, I think, against the Mavs with the cramp. Or no, San Antonio. The cramp.
San Antonio with the cramp. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The cramp stuff, because they lost that finals, correct? That's the.
No, I think they won that year and then lost the next year.
But that's the other part there. So they won that. No, LeBron didn't win. They won that finals despite LeBron, because it was.
Yeah, because that was the year Chris Bosh got the offensive rebound and kicked it out to Ray Allen, and Ray Allen traveled and they didn't call it. Yep. And then he made the three. Yeah.
And he made the three to give through and to give. Oh, LeBron did LeBron.
Well, LeBron did lead in 4 of the 5 major statistics that
he was.
I don't still, but
yeah. But as we've kind of talked before, statistics are always, especially basketball statistics, can be kind of weird.
They can be wonky. Mm-hmm.
As far as points, I remember, seeing all these things of, we traded for this guy who's on the last place team because he's scoring 48 points a game. Yeah, he's scoring 48 points a game because he's the only person who can score on that team. And it's basketball, so you're going to score at least 70 points.
Allen Iverson every year but 2001.
Exactly. Like, there's all these players who sit there and be like, oh, man, this guy's amazing. I remember in our chat we kind of posted up of stuff of, oh, LeBron scored way more points faster than Kobe. Yeah, it's because he never had to defer to Shaq. Yes, Kobe doesn't get those rings earlier on, but if Kobe's the guy and the only guy, Kobe's getting those first few years. He's got to share the ball. No, he's got to defer to someone else. He's got to share the ball. He's not the only guy.
The difference is Kobe came in as an 18-year-old and played like 16 minutes a game.
Yeah.
LeBron played, I think, 40 minutes his first game in the league as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the story, the legend that had already been crafted.
I will say this. There's never been a person in sports that has lived up to expectations that were that high like LeBron has. I think LeBron and maybe Peyton Manning are the only two that had the hype that was that big, that actually lived up to it.
Yeah,
Elway eventually.
Eventually, but he struggled at the beginning.
Well, not so much struggle, because the fact that he didn't win Super Bowls, and that was always a big chalk against him, the Super Bowls he lost, and no one realized that, you realize there's not another person on planet Earth that could have got those Broncos teams to those Super Bowls. Yeah, he lost because he got tired for carrying everyone on his back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Elway can definitely say he probably lived up to all those. Going back to hockey, Sidney Crosby.
Crosby has, but but here's the thing. Crosby's hype wasn't that big. It was big, but it wasn't at the Manning and LeBron level.
I wouldn't say that. For the hockey world, it was big.
As a rookie, people were having the conversation seriously of he could be Gretzky.
You know what? And what's crazy is we're looking at he's not that far off on those numbers. Crosby's not. He's far off, but he's not all that far off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's ready to. He's got a good chance of finishing number 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well,
I think that's been a good one.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to stop on all the people who are number 2: Manning, LeBron, Crosby, all the people that are number 2 to people that they just could never pass. But yeah, guys, this has been Sports Den, the podcast. Catch us next time. And if you guys we would love to get some support. Like, share, give us a 5-star review. Ben, what are we going to do for 5-star reviews?
We're still working on stuff. I had an idea of, we got to see if this will work. But if you include a YouTube link to something from the past in sports, include the link. That way we can actually find it. And that way we don't have to go hunting for it. But include the link of something, YouTube or some other video thing, that we can watch, something in the past in sports, and we can review it. Preferably something bad. Something bad could be fun too.
We love laughing at bad things. We really do.
We can make fun of people really well.
Mm-hmm.
We can sit there and find stuff. And then the other thing we can do is we can look at the YouTube comments, and always take a look at the YouTube comments. It's always a fun thing. So it's like a 5-star review that we get to review something. So yeah, put it in there and give us a little clip of, oh, hey, this is when. One thing that kind of played in mind was, you know what? If you find a clip of Vontaze creating the problem of Antonio Brown, you find that and you want us to review it, you know what? We can review that.
I have good takes on that. So someone write us a review about that.
And by good takes, he means he talked to me for about 2 hours about
it. All right.
You have to break your takes out somehow.
Yep. All right. We'll see you guys next time on Sports Den, the podcast.
Right.
Bye.